Good Sunday morning to y'all. I'm going to post something that if you are new to cooking and you haven't made them yet, biscuits are a really good source of a full belly. And when things get tight, you can always just have biscuits and gravy. They are one of my husband's favorites. I don't make them all that often because I'm sure they're not that great for you. But we love them. And living in the South now, from a West Coast girl, in Missouri, biscuits are a way of life here. Now, I'm going to also make a cream gravy, which is also the base of my macaroni and cheese. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But the first thing you want to do, get your bowl. Your hands are going to get dirty, so take the wedding ring off momentarily. I know you're not supposed to take it off, but I don't want to get it all full of gook. First thing you're going to start with is 2 cups of self-rising flour. Now, I hope you all understand that there are differences between a liquid measure and a regular measure. Now, this self-rising flour, I'd never heard of it before I came here because we just didn't use it out in California. It's a staple of the South, and what it's got is it's got the salt and baking powder in it. So it's an ease, but also I believe the flour, just from the dust factor, is finer than an all-purpose flour. But if you don't have self-rising, you can use all-purpose. Just for this recipe, add 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of salt to regular flour. Now this is self-rising, so I'm not going to add anything. So we're going to put in 2 cups of flour. And I just use my hand to level it. Okay, and keep that close by because you might need a little bit more. It does call for a teaspoon of salt in addition. So I use 1/2 teaspoon because I find it salty enough. I don't, just my salt cellar. I don't need to add all that much salt. Okay, and then I have a Danish dough whisk. You don't have to, you can use a fork, you can use your hands. I stir that around in my bowl to kind of distribute it, okay? Now, this is the critical step. And I have to give a shout out to my niece Amanda, because without her, I wouldn't know what self-rising flour is. And she said, oh wait, Heidi, you can make biscuits. Now my biscuits, I don't know where I learned to make them, but they were what my husband called the equivalent of a hockey puck. They were not light, they were dense, they were, bleh, no one wanted to eat them. So she said, try self-rising flour, and made a big difference. So I'm gonna go get, you wanna wait till this point. Don't take it out ahead of time. You want a stick of butter, not margarine, real butter. You know me, I don't cook with anything but butter. I don't want all those chemicals in my body. So we got a stick of butter. Now, carefully take the wrapper off because you're going to use that. Oh, and by the way, I've already heated my oven to 450. You want to get that started because you don't want to put your biscuits in a cold oven. Now, take that wrapper, and I've got a skillet, and I'm just going to, a cast iron skillet. Now, they are the best thing since sliced bread. They're seasoned. When they're seasoned well, nothing sticks. So I just put a little, you can't even see it on there. You just see a little bit, but that's a good way to do that. Whoops, I just dropped my cup. Good thing my robot vacuum just came through. Going to take a grater, and this is critical. Don't try to cube it or whatever. Take your grater and grate that butter right in. It needs to be cold because you want it in this little charge, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Okay, you got to get it all in there. Get the back. Okay, got that? That's what it looks like. Now you're going to mix that in the flour with your hands. Just mix it up, kind of get it coated so it doesn't all stick together. Then we're going to shake our buttermilk, and we're going to start with a cup. Depending on the humidity, and baking is very dependent on humidity and air temperature. Now I keep this house at 70 degrees year round because I get hot. And I always have a fan going. But you're going to make a well in there. And you're going to start with a little bit. I'm going to take my whisk. And I'm going to start moving it around. You don't want to overwork your biscuits, so you're just going to incorporate. Okay, just going to start. Looks like I need more. I'm going to put the rest of that cup in. And I still may need more. And yes, I did wash my hands before I started. I'm a good cook. I try to keep things. Okay, once I've got it to like this stage, time to get dirty. You're going to get those hands in there, and you're going to start feeling your dough. And it's going to get all over your hand. I try to keep one hand free in case I need some more milk or something, so I don't dirty that up. But you just keep working it a little more flour in there at a time, kind of like you would a yeast spread. See, I've already got it started into a clump. You don't want to melt that butter, so you don't want your hot hand too good. I just kind of scrape it down till I get almost all of it incorporated. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you. I have, okay, hang on, a mat. A baking mat, okay? And that's what I roll my pie crust out on and everything. So now my bowl is empty. Got a little bit of flour left over, so I put that underneath it. And I'm just gonna work it a little bit to work some of that flour in. This baking mat, or if you have a granite counter, marble counter, oh, what I wouldn't give for that, but they're so fussy. Okay, so I'm gonna get most of this off my hands, and what I do is I just rub my hands, get it off. Okay, now, no rolling pin required. You don't want to roll this. You want it pretty thick. So, here's what I'm gonna do. Show you. This is I hope I'm gonna get this eventually. This is probably making y'all sick. The pat of dough. And what I'm going to do now, okay, is take my biscuit cutter. This is my biscuit cutter. Glass will do as well. And you're just going to cut down straight through and press out. And what you're going to get is this. Now see how high that is? It's about 1 inch high. And that's what you want, because you want them crusty on the outside a little bit. I like that little bit of crunch. And then tender and flaky on the inside. So this recipe makes about 6 to 7 biscuits, and that's more than enough for Mr. Fisher and I. Although he would probably say different. And it's okay if they're a little outside. Now, I take the rest of the dough. I just cut out 4, and that's all I can do. And I'm going to move this leftover dough into another piece, just like we had. And I'm going to try and cut 2 more. So that I'll get 6. Maybe 7. Okay, I got 7. So let me clean my hands just a minute. That's the hardest part. That grated butter is the best way to go. Sorry, coming back. Okay, hands are washed. We're good. This is what you're going to end up with. Now, I'm going to take 2 tablespoons of butter, and I'm going to melt it in a little bitty bowl. In the microwave, no more than 30 seconds. Usually it takes less than that. I'll have to figure out, Rick, to get me some way of showing, but I got me a basting brush. And as soon as this butter melts, don't let it go too long or you'll have a mess in your microwave. Gonna brush the tops. We're gonna pop them in the oven for 18 to 20 minutes. And you wanna see them rise and get fluffy, but you don't want them raw inside. You don't want them burnt. We don't want a burnt biscuit. That won't go in my house. So, okay, 30 seconds seems to be the trick. Here is my melted butter. And I'm gonna put this over here so you can see. I'm just gonna dab the butter on. That gives that little bit of crunch. And we'll use the rest of that butter for the gravy we're gonna make. So now I'm gonna pop these in the oven. That gives me 20 minutes to get my gravy done. And I always like to start it right away so that it's done and has time to set up a little bit, because you're gonna wanna let it thicken, as I call it. So this is gonna take all-purpose flour, whole milk, little salt, pepper, and I put garlic in mine. Now, normally you would start maybe with sausage, chipped beef, ham, whatever you want. Rick's stomach has been acting up, so he's kind of on the brat diet, so we're just gonna make plain cream gravy. But this also is a good base for macaroni and cheese. You just add Velveeta and pour it over some cooked noodles. You're good to go. At least in our house. Now, some people put real cheese. I know, Velveeta isn't great, but we love it. So, on to the gravy.